and enhance their own, knowledge and experience in terms of business immigration. Being a regulated consultant with this company, I proudly feel, you know, all I can say is it's something that I had been experiencing when I immigrated into Canada, and something that I wanted to explore while coming into Canada. Introducing myself, I myself Vishal Kapoor. I am the chairman for Sawubona Canada Immigration. The name of the company was founded. It's a South African isiZulu word, which means we value you as clients. We value you as individual. We value everybody who's across the table or who's having a relationship with us. I am proud to introduce my team. Before we begin the presentation, we have Amit Kohli sitting in from India office. Thank you, Amit, for being here. I have Mickey sitting in from South Africa office. And we also have Victor here in Canada office trying and helping us with the technology part of this presentation. Thank you so much, Victor, and everybody else. Thanks for the participants who are here. Before we begin the presentation, all I can say a few words about myself and the company. We have team of professionals, team of champions whose eventual goal is help you reach Canada. That is your dream destination. The advantage that we bring along with us as Sawubona Canada is the global presence that we have across the globe, and we promise to deliver what has been committed. However, moving forward on the agenda side of the presentation, all I can say, the one we have already shared is, firstly, we will be discussing a few points on understanding immigration, then discussing a few topics on the different immigration pathways that we have under the business category, meeting the eligibility criteria as a business immigrant, what valuable business experience is in terms of being an entrepreneur, and also how is Sawubona Canada proactive in assisting and making you achieve your business residency goals in Canada. So when I counsel a client, or whenever I am interacting with somebody who wants to immigrate into Canada, my first emphasis is trying to understand what is the need of the individual to immigrate. And after identifying the need, the most important topic is disqualifying a client rather than qualifying a client, because most of the time we feel like we do qualify, but the clients do not, or the prospects do not understand. We should have a reverse hierarchy, in the sense disqualifying, as if, is there something which is not possible with the client? And this all comes under the due diligence process that we take before retaining a client. Now, starting with the first topic of understanding immigration. When we start about immigration, I always try to emphasize and educate the client as if, do you know what immigration and how Canadian immigration works? So just before I get into the business immigration side, I just want to touch a brief pointers and not give you an educational session about how immigration is. There are two types of governments here in Canada. One is a central government, the other is a provincial government. Whatever immigration rules, bylaws, ministerial instructions, operation bulletins, they all are designed and devised by the federal government. And federal government, in terms, have designed an artificial intelligence management tool called the Express Entry, under which every applicant can create their profile and get a CRS score, on the basis of which an applicant is allowed permanent residence or given invitation to apply. Now, when we consider different categories, there are various categories under Express Entry. The first of them is skill category. The other of them is business immigration. So when we speak of skilled workers or the skill category, we have four basic categories called the skilled worker, skilled trade, and Canadian experience class. And lastly, the provincial nomination programs. However, we are not going to discuss the skilled workers or the skill category here. We are going to touch about business immigration. That is about the entrepreneur stream, startup visa, intra-company transfer, and owner-operator. These are just a few of the business immigration options that I can rank here. Not in the order of their priority, but just as a casual, as if what is in demand, what runs, and what is best for the clientele. Before I start running in all of these, I just want to let you know, in this webinar today, specifically, we are trying to cover the entrepreneur stream, not ignoring startup visa, intra-company transfer, owner-operator, or the self-employed categories. I will give you a brief understanding of all the programs, but the main emphasis of the webinar is entrepreneur stream today. Why am I talking about it? Why am I emphasizing about it? You will come to know a little bit later in the presentation. When we speak of startup visa or intra-company or owner-operator, these all are opportunities for those entrepreneurs who have had a working experience, who have had a net worth, and based on those documentation, one can qualify or disqualify for business immigration. As I said, before I start and touch the entrepreneur stream, I just want to give you just a brief knowledge about other options that we have, beginning with the intra-company transfer first. Intra-company transfer is a business program for those applicants who have a running business, I shall say a successful running business, in the past couple of years based outside Canada. It could be anywhere across the globe, having an X number of employees, having a good number of turnover in the business, and that company wants to establish a branch here in Canada. So that particular process is called an intra-company transfer. Giving you a hypothetical example, let's say an XYZ company is into a business in Africa, and that company wants to set up a branch office in Canada. That's easy peasy. A company can be registered or incorporated, as we call it in this side of the world. Once that is done, what we do, we help apply for a work permit for one of the senior directors of the company to set up the business operations here in Canada. So it's a work permit which is issued initially for 1 year, renewable up to 7 years. That is, after the first year, it is renewable for additional 2 years. That's how little brief about intra-company transfer. The owner-operator program. The owner-operator program has been a quite successful program with business immigration. Of late, there has been a little bottlenecks, but yes, it's still in demand based on the criteria if a client qualifies. How it works? Under an owner-operator program, any individual or an applicant can buy an existing business which is running here in Canada. So let's say, hypothetically, a fashion designer comes here on a visitor visa, wants to buy an apparel, cloth, or a boutique here in Canada. Fantastic. They can buy that business, and on the basis of that business, apply for their work permit and get started working here in Canada on a worker's permit. That is how owner-operator works. Startup visa, fantastic. One of the most in-demand programs these days. How it works? Basically, federal government, as I initially mentioned, has appointed 3 government agencies in Canada. Those 3 agencies are angel investors, venture capitalists, and the incubators. Their role is to assist and support those businessmen or entrepreneurs or individuals who have a unique business idea. So how it works? Let's say Mr. A has a unique business idea. So they can move in and have a conversation with either of the federal agencies, be the angel investor, venture capitalist, or the incubators. Hypothetically, let's say Mr. A has a business plan which is already successful and running and implemented. Now they want to apply that unique business idea in the Canadian soil. They meet the angel investors. If the angel investors like their business idea, they will fund the business idea with up to 200,000 Canadian dollars. Whereas if the same project is taken to venture capitalists, they will fund the business idea with 75,000 Canadian dollars. However, last but not the least, the incubators. If Mr. A takes a business idea to an incubator who likes and approves the business idea through a letter of support, what they get a letter of support on the basis of which their residency can be filed. Last is self-employed. Self-employed is a very vague category. I will touch that most importantly in the next webinar that we are doing for those individuals who are running their business and do qualify under a specific category. Moving forward with today's session, that is the entrepreneur stream. When we speak of entrepreneur stream, like the federal government run their own immigration program called, like under the express entry, as I mentioned earlier, they have federal skilled worker, skilled trade worker, Canadian experience class, and PNP. Now, every province has their own entrepreneur stream program running. So what I will try to do and what I will suggest you or what I will guide you in this webinar today is, what is the thumb rule for an entrepreneur stream program? Let's say Mr. A wants to immigrate into Canada. Can he immigrate through an entrepreneur stream? Of course, yes. We will go to the next slide and see what actually Entrepreneurs Team does. Entrepreneurs Team is basically designed to support those individuals. I have mentioned specifically individuals and not entrepreneurs from outside Canada, because it can be entrepreneurs as well as senior management guys as well, who are looking to implement either a new business idea or buy an existing business or establish a global branch in Canada. What does this offer to the applicant? This offers the opportunity to be nominated for permanent residence once the business has been successfully established. I have marked permanent residence because that is based on certain eligibility criteria, which I will discuss and let you know moving forward. Now, when we speak of an entrepreneur stream, let's say I would like to invest and come through an entrepreneur stream myself. So what are the do's and don'ts? What is the process for that? So the first process under an entrepreneur stream, as I mentioned, every province has their own entrepreneur stream working, but it varies upon province to province. What I have mentioned here is a thumb rule, so one can have an understanding whether I qualify or not. The first point is an experience factor, which is very, very crucial. Why? Because if someone does not have this kind of an experience, that applicant will not qualify for entrepreneur stream. So the minimum experience needed for a business owner is minimum 3 years. For a senior management role is minimum 5 years. So these are the thumb rules, point number one, that one should possess. The second criteria under self-assessment is net worth. When we speak of net worth, that means the net worth of the individual. Sometimes applicants have come across with me questions stating, do you mean if me and my spouse have to apply under the entrepreneur stream, so does each of us need to possess that net worth? No. It can be a combined net worth. So you and your spouse together having a net worth of minimum Canadian $500,000 or more. Mark my words. Why do I highlight the point minimum? Because this is the benchmark. So the higher you have, the better opportunity you have to get nominated or to get a letter of advice to apply for work permit under the entrepreneur stream. The most difficult question is the language. Now, sometimes people say, Vishal, you know what? Language is a challenge. How about if I score less? Will I qualify? Fortunately, yes. Under the entrepreneur stream, the minimum benchmark required is a CLB 5. However, the higher, the better, as I always say. So CLB 5 is what I would request a client to have in. Last but not the least, under the self-assessment factor, I always advise my client is the education part. So if you have a Canadian high school, you will qualify and you will make points for your entrepreneur stream pathway. These are just basic thumb rules. And I always insist that part, recommend my clients to review the profile before even thinking on these factors. And that's where my team comes into play. Moving forward with the business research side. So somebody says, Vishal, I've qualified with these 4 or 5 factors that you have initially mentioned. Would I be moving forward on that? If yes, what is the next path? So once the client has qualified under the self-assessment part, we go on to the business research side. That means start exploring a province. Mr. A, I'm just naming Mr. A, I don't know who he is, but yeah, hypothetically, if Mr. A wants to immigrate into Canada, let's say in Ontario, there is an entrepreneur stream which is bifurcated in 2 divisions, which is inside and outside GTA. Based on those factors, Mr. A needs to do an exploratory visit. And that's why I have mentioned start exploring the province. So if somebody says, Vishal, I do not have any, fixed need of moving into Ontario, I'm flexible. Is there any other province I can explore? Then again, it will depend upon the amount of investment the applicant is looking forward to do. That could be Nova Scotia, that could be Manitoba, New Brunswick, and so forth. But what I mean to say is an exploratory visit under the province need to be made. Now, the second pointer is identifying a business opportunity. That means once you have explored or you have thought of exploring a particular province, which we have shortlisted and finalized, then we need to identify business opportunities in that province. It could be either an existing business or setting up a new business. Once the client has done shortlisting the province, identifying a specific business as if what he or she wants to invest in, then the last stage is preparing an executive summary. That means if I'm willing to immigrate, let's say hypothetically in Ontario, I will prepare a presentation not a business plan. So what we do is it's just an executive summary as if what the applicant will be doing in that province, which includes the above self-assessment factors. Apart from that, the investment amount, the job creation factors, and other details. Once we have prepared the executive summary, we submit expression of interest. That is, as we have it in express entry draws, any applicant who wants to get immigrated to Canada, the skilled category applicant, can create his or her profile and wait for the draw to happen. Similarly, under the entrepreneur stream, what happens? Applicants create the profile and submit that as an expression of interest into the entrepreneur stream program under that particular province. So eventually we are tied up and wait for the draw to happen. So once the draw has happened, what is the next stage that we reach at? Now, the next stage is, let's say, hypothetically presuming we have submitted the executive summary and the provincial government had liked our business plan or the executive summary, they issue us a letter of advice to apply. Under this letter of advice, what happens? The applicant is required to submit the complete application. What we do, we make a complete application. Now we come up with a business plan. Now we come up with all our facts that we have mentioned in the earlier part, as if what my net worth is, what my experience is, or what my education and so forth. Based on these factors, we submit the complete application. Once the application is submitted, it is assigned to a business immigration officer. Technically, based on our experience and as per the black and white documentation that we have, your file is assigned to 2 business immigration officers. And once that file is assigned, it is prioritized based on the significant economic benefit it brings to the province. Once the business immigration officer is convinced and feels like, fantastic, Mr. A file is something that will add benefits to the province, they will ask you to sign a business performance agreement called the BPA. Now that business performance agreement is which allows you to apply for work permit. How come? Because after signing the business performance agreement, the provincial government issues you a letter of support. What does the letter of support contains? We will show you and tell you in the later part of the presentation. Once you apply for your work permit, you are required to land here in Canada within the first 12 months of getting your letter of support and establish your business and fulfill the business performance agreement. Now, what do you mean by fulfilling the business performance agreement? That means whatever we have mentioned in the business plan, we will be hiring hypothetically, let's say 2 Canadians, including 1 permanent resident and a Canadian citizen. We will be investing close to 300,000 Canadian dollars. We will be investing in this particular industry, let's say hospitality or healthcare industry. Based on the business plan, we need to fulfill the promises that we have committed to the province, or as such, the business immigration officer who has been assigned to our file initially. Now what happens? When we are running the business, we need to continuously submit the progress reports to the business immigration officer who have been assigned to our file initially. How does that work? Once we have been assigned the business immigration officer, they have the right and authority to visit your physical business that we had started and even review and verify the details that had been done. Why they do that? Because after running the business, their final recommendation is important in order to get a nomination letter. And that's why we need to make sure there's active participation in the business of the applicant. Once the business has been run, let's say hypothetically for 20 months and more, we are in a position, or the applicant is in a position to apply for a nomination letter from the province. What does the nomination letter do? This is what we have been waiting for. That nomination letter entitles us or the applicant basically to apply for his or her permanent residence. So the difference between the entrepreneur stream and the other business program is you do not go into the express entry pool. You straight get a nomination letter after running your business and apply for your permanent residence. So far, so good. This is how an entrepreneur stream works. The purpose of the webinar today is not just to educate or impart you information about entrepreneur stream. What we wanted to impart is for you to understand there is a special entrepreneur stream program which is about to be launched in first quarter of 2023. And I want you all to be proactive on their applications. What is the difference between these entrepreneur stream program and the one I am speaking of or I'm trying to tell you? The major difference you'll come to know is when I mentioned in this process that you need to submit your expression of interest, right? So what happens is we submit an EOI and wait for the draw to happen. However, this particular province, which has a community investment-based program to be launched in first quarter of 2023, an applicant does not need to wait for submitting their expression of interest or waiting the draw. How and why? Just give me 1 minute. So now Manitoba has a provincial program, which was running earlier, right? In August 2020. But because of COVID, it was put it on halt and suspended. So this is a community-based program. When I say community-based, again, initially, as I mentioned, these are provincial nomination programs under the entrepreneur stream. So the federal government has given each and individual provinces their specific rights and authorities to conduct their own draws based on their needs. So there is a small community in Manitoba which is entitled to run their own entrepreneur stream program and provide entrepreneurs, successful business people to take advantage of this particular program. Just a brief highlights is, as I mentioned earlier, it will promote, attract, and assess international entrepreneurs based on the self-assessment that I've told you. Why? So that eligible applicants will be able to move and invest in business in Manitoba. One major question my clients has been asking is, Vishal, is it actually in Manitoba or where is it? Yes, it is in Manitoba. It is just close to 100 kilometers from Winnipeg. We will share the details to you as if what community and province it is in a later part of the presentation. Now, what happens when I say you are a qualified applicant? If you are a qualified applicant, you need to demonstrate a minimum investment of 150,000 Canadian only. That means if you have this part of the investment ready with you, you are good to apply for this program. However, not forgetting the eligibility criteria, which I have mentioned earlier. The investment of 150,000 will form a part of your assessment criteria by the business immigration officers who will be assigned to your file. What is the other mandatory part under this Manitoba PNP? You need to create or maintain at least one job, and it requires full and a viable business plan. When I say viable, that means something not which is in the air, something which is realistic, have a transition of your previous skill set into this new business plan that we are proposing to the provincial government. What industries do you think will be highlighted? Technically, before 2020, the industries that were highlighted were tourism, hospitality, retail, light, healthcare, education, and technology. Now, as I said, what are the benefits it will bring in? The first thing is it's expedited. Expedited means it's fast. The second is, as I committed, applications from the community will not be subject to expression of interest. So you don't need to wait for the draws. You are just getting in and out with it, right? So that's the biggest advantage that we have. The quintessential part, which I don't want you to miss, that the participant needs to make an active management in this. That means you must be actively involved into day-to-day management activities. You cannot just do, like somebody else is managing it on your behalf. If the officer comes to know, you will be disqualified under the program. Then there is a mandatory interview. These are two major questions which most of the applicants or prospects have asked me. Yes, there is a mandatory interview. If your application is found to be complete, you will be undergoing through an interview. Last but not the least, I'm touching base on what the Sawbona's approach is. Primarily, it's client satisfaction. That's what we target. As I mentioned earlier, I have a team of expert and professionals. We guide you step by step. Before retaining, we do the due diligence. The most important part, which I always mention to my clients, is the entrepreneur vision. Myself, being an entrepreneur and being in the industry for past couple of years, I make sure that whatever business research has to be done for my client is done by myself individually, along with the network and the team that I have across Canada. So if my business client says, Vishal, I want to look into a manufacturing industry, I'll make sure they find or we find them a business based on good profitability, number of employees, and a viable return in the business. Now, I think I've just given you brief insights about this. What I would like to ask Victor, if in case it's okay, if I can take questions. Hang on. Any questions so far? If you have, please feel free, because I want to attend some questions before I let you guys go and take advantage of the business immigration pathway. There you go. All right. So any questions anybody has? Victor, can you help me get the question so I can attend? Because I know it's a very vast topic, and I have run through most of the points quickly. I've just answered a few questions which I thought could be related to what my previous experiences have been. And why am I preparing the clients or the applicants for this April or March 2023 is because when we go into complete submission of application, the most important part is getting your net worth verified. And that net worth verification sometimes takes 3 months, sometimes takes 2 months. Give me a sec. Okay. Amit, I think you have a question. Yeah. Hang on. Victor, if you can unmute him. Amit, can you ask me a question? I can hear you. Can you hear me? If you cannot speak, maybe you can just send your question in the chat. I can attend to it. Anybody else in the meanwhile who has a question till Amrik presents it? Amit, I cannot see the question, Amit. Amit, if you can type the text, the question in the chat box, I'll take it. Because Victor, can you assist if you are there, the tech guy?
Hey Amit, you are not unmute.
Great question. A very interesting one, because most of the time people ask the same question. The investment has to be done in one shot, and technically how it has to be done, I'll just recap. Let's say you got the letter of advice and we have applied for your work permit. Till that point of time, there is no investment coming in. No investment means no investment in the province. What you need to do is, when you land here in Canada, thereafter you have 8 to 12 months to start your business under the entrepreneurs team. So let's say hypothetically you land here 1st of January, you have ample time to research and implement your business. What the business immigration officer expects is, since you have already done the exploratory visit as I communicated, they would be expecting that you have shortlisted your brokerage, you have shortlisted the business, and that's why they are expecting you to start the investment. So yes, coming to your answer, it's a one-shot investment, but again, only when you have arrived in Canada, and then only you will start investing. Any other questions apart from this which I can assist? Maybe you can raise your hand. I can ask Victor to unmute. Amit, I hope I've answered the question. If you're not able to speak, maybe you can just type in the chat or raise your hand. Victor can take it from there. So glad. I hope I've given a, yeah, thank you. Excellent. So see, summarizing the whole conversation once again, when we look at business immigration, it is an option for an entrepreneur or a senior management role individual who is willing to invest and is unable to immigrate under the federal skilled category. It's for those individuals who have a net worth, an investment capacity, and a vision to invest. That's very important, because if you do not have an experience, as I said, the self-assessment, you would not qualify. You would not have net worth, you would not qualify. Few of my clients, I don't want to put this in the frame, but yes, they ask, do we need to bring all the accountability of the amount that we have in the books? Yes. The amount needs to be net verified by the federal agencies that have been appointed by the federal government, like Grant Thornton, KPMG, and so forth. It all varies province to province. So moving forward, if you have any questions, any queries, please feel free to touch our offices based in South Africa, Canada, or India. We can book a one-on-one consultative session with you guys, and we will be more than happy to assist and see if we can help you immigrate under the business immigration pathway. This is just one of the pathways. The other thing that we would like to schedule is, after the entrepreneurs team, is an intra-company transfer. It's beneficiary for those individuals who have an existing business running and they want to immigrate into Canada. So any questions, any queries, feel free. And our email is here. I'm just sharing the details with you guys, so at least you can note them down. Give me a sec. Not that tech savvy, but yeah, there we go. So please feel free to connect with our Canada office, India office, or Africa office for whatever queries you might have. We will try to assist you to the best of our experience and expertise. And believe me, business immigration is opening up because of COVID and pandemic. Many opportunities have opened up. So please be proactive and take advantage of this community-based entrepreneur stream program in Manitoba. This will help you eliminate the draws and will help you immigrate with your family members into Canada. All right. Thank you once again to all the team. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, Mickey and Amit. And thank you for all the participants who have spent their time with us. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.